And we are live.
Good afternoon, Energy Camp. Welcome to day 3 of Camp Week. We're halfway through. We hope you enjoyed the virtual field trips this morning to Umstead State Park and the South Lake Landfill. And today we have the expert from that video with us today, Sara, and we'll get to her in just a moment. First, the prize winners from yesterday were Amelie K and Sonia J. We will email your parents and we will mail you your prize. So thank you for participating in the question and answer session and sending us your pictures from the at-home demonstrations. Please, if you do the at-home demonstrations, feel free to email us a picture of that at energycamp@wakegov.com. And if you ask a question today, you'll also be entered to win a prize. One quick thing, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ryan Davidson. I work for Wake County General Services. Mr. Evan will be joining us a little later today. So let's go ahead and turn it over to Sara. She will introduce herself and then cover some of the highlights from today's video. And then Patrick will ask your questions. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Sara, go ahead.
Thank you for having me. My name is Sara Dababash. I'm an environmental program coordinator with Wake County Waste Management Division. I work in education specifically, and I go out into the community and I talk to residents and students and all members of the public about ways that they can help reduce waste and divert waste from landfill by means of composting and recycling. And I also provide tours of the county's landfill as well. And thank you for watching the virtual tour of South Lake Landfill. You will have seen in the video different stops along the tour. We started at the scale house where you saw a lot of the trucks coming in and out of the landfill, and they're all weighed at the scale house. We receive about 150 trucks each day at the landfill carrying garbage from all of the businesses and households within Wake County. And it adds up to a lot of waste, about 1,500 tons each day coming in the landfill. And we're open 6 days a week. So we're averaging around 530,000 tons of garbage coming in each year. After you saw the trucks coming through the scale house, you would have seen the trucks going up to the working face of the landfill. That is where we use heavy machines to bury a lot of the garbage. And then we headed over to a new cell of the landfill to look at how the liner is designed to protect the surrounding soil and the groundwater table from coming into contact with the trash. In the video, we also headed over to the leachate tank where we looked at the types of pollution that could come from landfilling and how we manage that so that it doesn't cause harm to the environment. Then we also looked at another type of pollution that landfills can produce, landfill gas, and what Wake County does to ensure that we can safeguard public health and protect the environment by destroying that landfill gas so that it doesn't pollute the environment and affect air quality that we all breathe. And we also looked at how we're able to take that pollution, take a negative and turn it into a positive and produce energy, which we all use every day in our daily lives. Thank you.
Okay, so our first question is, do you need more than one compactor for a landfill?
Yes, especially the landfill that in Wake County, because of the size of our landfill. It's around 93 acres developed right now. We have a lot of trash coming in. So the bigger your landfill, the more trash you're coming in, the more machines you will use. So we currently have 3 compactors at our landfill. They don't always work at the same time. It's always a good idea to have an extra one just in case the compactor breaks down, because that does happen. They need maintenance like most machines. So we have a spare, and then we usually have two that work either simultaneously or we stagger when they go out. We have two different sizes of compactors as well.
Our next question is, how efficient is the process?
How efficient is the process of landfilling?
Yeah, I guess so. It's pretty broad.
Landfilling is the most economic and environmentally friendliest means of waste disposal that we have here in Wake County. So it's our best option for right now with the resources that we have. So it's fairly efficient. We can, with the help of the machines, we can bury around 1,100 pounds of waste in the space the size of a cubic yard. So we can take garbage and squish it down tiny into a really small space using the machines. So it's a lot more efficient nowadays than it used to be before we had the compactors and the bulldozers.
Our next question is, how do you dispose of fluid materials?
So fluids, if you're referring to things like maybe wastewater, that's a little bit different. That's something that would go down your drain into sewers, and that would go to a wastewater treatment plant to be treated. If you're referring to fluids that you throw away in your garbage, so maybe food waste is a perfect example of a waste item that's got a very high water content. And then also any kind of chemicals that you might throw away. Those fluids will drain in the landfill and go down into our leachate pipes, our system of a network of pipes that collect all those fluids. And then they are removed from the landfill, and then they're pre-treated so that they're clean enough to be released back out into the environment. It's fairly efficient.
Okay, our next question is, does the natural gas plant on the landfill site cause pollution?
Well, it's designed to take all of the landfill gas that comes through that's piped into the plant and destroy it using engines that release the energy from the natural gas, and they convert it from methane, which is a very harmful greenhouse gas, about 25 times more harmful than carbon dioxide. And the engines convert that methane into heat and carbon dioxide. So it does release a little carbon dioxide, but it's destroying 100% of the methane. So it's they do not create more pollution than they're helping to destroy.
Our next question is, where is the biggest landfill?
Whoa, that is a great question. And the last I knew, the biggest one is, I believe, out west. It's either in, I want to say, Utah State or California. I believe it's about 5 times the size of the South Wake landfill. But there are some very, very large landfills, much larger than the one at South Wake.
Our next question is there a way for the trash to fly out of the landfill, like in a hurricane or something like that?
Yes, actually, we deal with that on a daily basis with very lightweight items, things like plastic bags and paper, tissue. If it's a very windy day at the landfill, it's very easy for the trash to blow away. away from the landfill. So we have a couple of different ways to be able to control that. We have a fence that goes around the working face of the landfill, and that is our first line of defense to capture anything that might blow away. And then we also have a litter protocol at the landfill where we have litter crews that go out on a daily basis, and they are picking up any trash that might be blowing off the working face down the side slopes of the landfill. And we're capturing it as fast as we can to prevent it from blowing up and into the trees, because once the plastic bags get up in the trees, it's very difficult to get them out. And we certainly don't want any of the waste blowing off the property onto neighboring properties. So we are diligently working on a daily basis to manage that.
Our next question is, how many people work at the South Wake landfill?
We have a lot of staff, and we also contract with GFL, Green for Life. They are the operators of the South Wake landfill, and they employ it's less than 50 people to work down at the landfill. But we also have another company that runs the energy plant. They have staff on site as well, about 5 people. We also have staff working at the drop-off facilities, the recycling centers. There's about another 10 or 15 staff working at those centers. So it's a very large site, but it's about less than 50 total.
Our next question is about a specific material. We actually have a couple of these coming up.
Okay.
The first one is, where would an empty gas tank go?
An empty gas tank, like a propane tank, that would go to the household hazardous waste facility to be recycled. They recycle scrap metal, and those facilities are open Monday through Saturday from 8 till 4.
Okay, our next question is about gasoline. So what happens if gasoline gets into a...
Oh, Patrick, you muted.
I said, what happens if gasoline gets into a landfill?
What happens if gasoline gets into landfill? Well, we have our leachate pipes in place to capture all of the fluids that are in the landfill. So any moisture of any kind is all being captured, and it will be treated so that it cannot cause any negative impacts on the environment. We keep it separate. We don't allow it to go into the water table or come into contact with the soil around the landfill.
Our next question is, how long does it take to construct a landfill?
It can take a long time to plan and open a landfill. The South Wake landfill took about 18 years to open, but the actual construction phase of the landfill was less than 2 years. And then we also developed the landfill in cells. We have individual cells. The South Wake landfill will have 9 cells total. And it takes around 6 months to construct each cell.
Our next question is kind of talking about cells. They ask, how small is the space where you crush the garbage?
Well, each cell varies in size. We're constrained by different features. It depends on topography and geology, bedrock, things like that. There might be streams and different surface water bodies that limit the size of each cell. So we have 9, well, we will have 9 different cells, and some are as small as 13 acres and some are as large as 27 acres. They're all different sizes. It really just depends on different features on the land and how you're limited with space.
How fast are the compactors?
Um, we don't drive them particularly quickly at the landfill. They're probably doing between 10 and maybe 10 miles an hour. They're going very slowly. It's a process of just driving over the trash multiple times. Just the weight of the machine moving slowly across the trash is how it works. So we're not really racing the compactors, but I do believe that GFL, or at least the company before GFL, Waste Industries, they do hold like a derby each year where they a lot of the operators will race the different machines. But I don't know how fast they go. I wouldn't have thought more than about 30 miles an hour, but I could be wrong.
Wow, a derby of compactors sounds pretty fun. Okay. What? Oh, I'm sorry. I already asked that question. What happens when an area becomes full of trash?
Okay, well, we keep burying the trash, and we raise the elevation of the cell by about 10 feet a day. And once we've reached a certain elevation, then we will close that cell and move on to the next cell. So we're currently filling each cell to 400 feet above sea level. It's about 440 feet above sea level. And then once we've reached that height, we close that. We temporarily cover that cell and we move on to the next one. And then we'll start filling that cell up to the same elevation. And then when we have all of our cells at 440 feet above sea level, then we create a lift. It's called a lift, where we raise all 9 cells. We're going to raise by an additional 80 feet. So when the landfill is completely full and ready to close, it will be about 520 feet above sea level.
Is there ever a reason to burn waste on purpose at the landfill?
We do not burn waste at the South Lake landfill. We never have. That's not to say fires cannot happen at landfills. They do happen. Fingers crossed, they have not happened at the South Lake landfill. But no, we do not burn any waste at the South Lake landfill, not intentionally.
Okay, we have another question pertaining to fire. Would firefighters protect the gas section of the landfill in case there was a fire?
Yes, we regularly have the fire department come out and do inspections of our facilities to make sure everything is to code and that we have safety measures in place should there be an incident.
How far do the GFL trucks go?
The GFL trucks that are collecting waste out in the county, they can drive all the way from the northern points of, they do drive from the transfer station in East Raleigh all the way down to the landfill on the Apex Holly Springs border. So that's I'd say about 18 miles for that trip one way. So they have they have to go back again as well. So about 36 miles round trip each time.
Do landfills harm the environment?
Landfills can cause pollution if it's not managed properly. We have protocols in place to help capture the pollution that municipal solid waste landfills can generate, like wastewater effluent. We also call that leachate, and they produce landfill gas. And we're required under our permits to capture and destroy that landfill gas that is not entering the atmosphere. And we're also required to capture our leachate. So that's why we have a network of pipes under the trash collecting all of that effluent, that garbage juice. So if those measures are not in place, landfills can hurt the environment.
What will happen when the landfill gets when it's reached its maximum height? Where will trash go?
That is something that we're looking at now. Our landfill should have another at least 20-year capacity left there. We estimate that based on the growth of the population and our current tonnages, we're trying to estimate our future waste disposal needs. We estimate that we have about 19 years left in the landfill. It's estimated to close around 2040. And this landfill itself took us 18 years from the time that we secured the land and opened the landfill. It took 18 years. So it can take a very long time. So we are currently looking now at what will our waste disposal needs be in 2040. We're planning already to determine what are we going to do with the waste when this landfill is full. Will we have another landfill here in Wake County? Will we have to send our trash to a different landfill? Will we do something else with it? Will we choose a different type of waste disposal technology? All those questions are on the table, and we are modeling right now. We have a project with NC State University. They're helping us model our options based on our future waste disposal needs. But it's on the definitely on the forefront of our minds. Right now, we're already busy planning for the future because landfills take a very, very long time to develop and open.
Do you sort the trash at the landfill?
We do not. No sorting takes place at the landfill. We receive the waste and we bury it. The only sorting that takes place is in the household or in the business where the waste is being generated. So if you choose to separate your waste and recycle as much of it as possible, that is wonderful. But you as the consumer decide what happens to a waste. Does it go to landfill or does it go to the recycling facility? So that's where the decision is made. Landfills do not do any form of waste treatment. They are disposing of waste only.
We've got another specific materials question. Where does clear glass go?
Well, if you throw a glass jar away in your trash can at home, it will end up in the South Lake landfill. If you decide to recycle your clear glass, it goes to a facility in Greensboro, I believe, that breaks it down into a cullet, and they recycle it into brand new glass bottles and jars. It stays in the state.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
What happens after a cell is full?
After the cell's full, we will close it. We put a liner system on the top of the cell. So it's called capping it. We cover the waste with a thick layer of soil. And then we add a high density polyethylene liner, a plastic liner that will go on top of that soil. And then we bring in more dirt and we plant grass seed, and it looks like a big green hill.
What percentage of the earth is filled with landfills?
Ooh, that is a great question. And I would have to do my research to be able to answer that with any kind of accuracy. There are literally thousands of landfills, some that we know about and some that we don't, that have existed from the 1960s and 70s before records were kept. That's specific to the US. If you're talking about the world, I should imagine the number is much higher, in the hundreds of thousands of landfills.
We have another wide-reaching question, which is, do you know what country in the world has the most landfills?
Not off the top of my head. I should imagine that the US is not far from the top. We do use landfilling as a primary means of waste disposal here in the US. A lot of developed nations do, but I don't know off the top of my head who is number one for landfilling.
All right, we've got another specific, nuanced question, which is, what happens if a truck is missing? Do you have trackers on them?
A lot of the trucks are fitted with GPS, so they are tracked by the owners, whether it's a private waste management company or a municipality such as the city of Raleigh. They do have trackers on their vehicles, so they know where they are at all times. And then we also do, GFL has trackers in the machinery, the compactors at the landfill as well. So we're able to track all the machines at the landfill. Reason why we do that is so that we can track elevation and also where the compactor has been. And we can also kind of pinpoint to about 10 to 15 feet where each garbage truck has buried waste as well by using those global positioning systems.
Do you give live in-person tours?
I do. Right now, they are on hold because of the pandemic, but we are planning to relaunch the in-person landfill tours this fall. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in taking one, to check our website. We will post those dates probably towards the end of the summer. Our website is wakegov.com/recycling. And we're aiming for the fall. As we know, we're living in changing times. So protecting public health is our priority. So if we have to postpone to winter, that may happen as well, but we're aiming for the fall.
What happens to trash at the bottom of the landfill after a long time?
The trash will sit there for decades, and it will break down very, very slowly. We control the environment within the cells to the point where we remove a lot of the conditions that are required for natural decomposition to take place. So the natural breaking down of materials will take longer because we've removed the oxygen and we've removed the moisture. So things that break down naturally in the environment rely on oxygen, the air, and rain and the elements to help it break down. So by removing those things that speed up natural decomposition, you will see materials in the landfill last a lot longer than they would do if they were out in the elements. And we did a study a couple of years ago where we took samples of trash from a closed landfill in the northern part of the county. And we actually found a banana peel next to a newspaper that was 12 years old. And we could tell from the date of the newspaper how old the banana peel was. So if a banana peel was left in the environment, it would not take 12 years for it to break down.
Who owns the landfill?
I believe Wake County owns the landfill. It's a publicly owned landfill, belongs to the public and Wake County government.
Are there any animals that live in or around the landfill?
Yes, a lot of wildlife. In fact, that was one of the biggest surprises for me when I started giving tours of the landfill, just how much wildlife I came across. The site itself is in when it was first opened, a relatively rural area, and a lot of trees there, and a lot of open space. So a lot of animals called the area home before we got there. And I regularly see wild turkeys out there. I've seen coyotes out there. I've seen deer. We also get a lot of eagles out of the landfill, a lot of snakes, all kinds of reptiles, a lot of wildlife. I was very surprised myself.
Do you ever want to keep any of the trash as a collectible?
I actually have a bin full of totes, a plastic tote full of waste that we excavated from a closed landfill, and it's all been vacuum sealed and labeled with the dates of when it originated. And I do like to look at it occasionally just to see old products from 20, 30 years ago when I was a little girl, different brands. And I like to look at it occasionally. Sometimes I'll take it out if I'm giving a presentation in schools about landfilling. I'll take that bin with me, and the students get a kick out of seeing old toys from 20 years ago, things that they don't see anymore, old toothbrushes, hairbrushes, things that people throw in the trash. We've seen letters, we've read letters from people that they've thrown away, all kinds of things, brands of food products that aren't even made to this day. So yeah, I keep samples.
Do you know why they decided to place the landfill at its location? They are just curious, they said.
Well, when you're building a landfill, you need a lot of land, and you're often trying to find a large amount of land, hundreds of acres. So you won't typically see landfills in very densely populated urban areas. So I believe back in the 1990s, when the county was looking to purchase land for a landfill, that area was one of the least populated areas of the county. There was a lot of land available, and it was also used previously by the previous owner for landfilling as well. And there's a couple closed landfills already out there on that property. So it had a history of waste disposal out there, and also there was enough land available to meet Wake County's waste disposal needs. So I believe that was the main reasons why that area was chosen, but it was definitely before my tenure, so I can't be 100% certain. I'd have to refer to my co-workers for that history lesson.
Okay, and we have one more question. Does the landfill office use any kind of green energy?
Well, all of the energy that is made at the energy plant, literally 500 feet down the road from our office, all that is going into the energy grid, and electrons typically stay local. So we don't have a direct line to the energy plant for 100% of our energy, but I should imagine most of the energy using to power that building is being sourced from electrons that are on the grid close by. So a lot of it is coming from the facility by means of the grid.
Okay, that's all our questions.
Great. Well, thank you for all your great questions today and for joining us. Thank you, Sara, for being here to answer those questions. Just as a reminder, tomorrow we will not have a live question and answer at 4 o'clock, but we will be back on Friday at 4 o'clock to learn about a new county park, Beach Bluff County Park, which is going to have some great environmental friendly features. And so we'll learn more about that on Friday. But tomorrow, please tune into the website for some more at-home demonstrations. And there'll also be virtual tours about the nuclear power plant and Falls Lake State Park. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.